Hey, Natalie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining me to talk about Proposition HH. A lot of people in Colorado rent. They don't own their property. It's pretty expensive to find a house these days. And of course, the biggest news story, the biggest political story this November in the coming month here is Proposition HH. It's going to be on the ballot for everybody in Colorado. People may have gotten their blue books that kind of go into some of the details, arguments for and against Proposition HH. But I think it's really important for people out there who rent, who are maybe just getting by with paycheck to paycheck to really understand what Proposition HH would do to them and how it would affect their lives.
That sounds like a good plan because I can tell you when you open your blue book, it's really not mentioned. So I think it's great we're doing a video, especially focusing on this.
Well, great. Well, let's dive in. I think people need to know how bad will Proposition HH affect Colorado renters. So there's a picture of the Denver skyline there. Skyline with skyrocketing rent. But you're out there, maybe you've seen some headlines on some of the Colorado news websites. You'll see a lot more news, of course, a lot more marketing around Proposition HH as we get closer to the election. But one of the big stories here from the Colorado Sun, an opinion article, the bill for Proposition HH will be prodigious. Far from being nearly tax neutral, the measure has a price tag that will weigh heaviest on renters, immigrants, and minorities. Wow. It's a pretty strong opinion piece there from just a couple days ago. So let's dig in and see maybe why this guy said that.
Okay.
Another headline from the Center Square, Colorado, centersquare.com. Analysis says Colorado renters will be the biggest losers if Proposition HH passes. Wow. Article from September 15th, 2023. So just real recent here. So that analysis is based on a study from a Colorado-based think tank called the Common Sense Institute here, and they wrote this brief. Kind of, they do some ballot analysis, they do some legislative analysis, kind of economic research, that kind of thing. And they said that the impact on renters here in Proposition HH is where a lot of these articles are getting their information from. So we'll get into that a little bit more later. But let's keep looking at some headlines that people may have seen recently. So just to give you an idea of how many people here in Colorado rent, the percentage of renters out there, this is the most recent data I found, kind of matched up to some of the census data and some other sources online. But from the National Low Income Housing Coalition, they show there's about 34% of people in Colorado rent, 34% households rent in Colorado. Have you seen similar numbers, Natalie?
A little bit above that, 37% was the last figure that I reviewed.
I mean, that's a lot, right? That's a lot of people. Over two-thirds of the population here in Colorado doesn't own their property, is renting out. So this is really important. This information is specifically very important for those people. And of
It, it's,
course, rent.
and I was going to say, especially because it doesn't become real obvious on the renter, the impact in the ballot question. So it's great to have this being highlighted.
Yeah, so here's an article from the Gazette. Rent seems to be increasing. Seems like there's still a lot of people who want to move here. Hard to blame them. Colorado's an awesome place to live. Beautiful mountains, ski season's coming up. So here's an article from just September, just a little bit ago. As Colorado Springs grows, 20 somethings are the fastest growing cohort. So a lot of young people moving to Colorado Springs, across Colorado, of course. We're seeing this trend from the Denverite from August 21st. Denver ranks as the fifth most searched city for renters nationwide, according to one online rental site. The city jumped 40% in searches on Rent Cafe since this time last year. So not only is the rental market pretty strained, it seems, but even more people are looking to move here to Colorado. Denver, Colorado Springs. It seems like the rental population is only going to continue to grow.
Mhm.
So this is Zillow from September 27th. Looking at the median rent here in Colorado, they show about a $2,200 as the median rent. Seems pretty stable from a year last month, down about $8 from over a year ago, about $100 difference. So $2,200 is what the average person's paying to rent a property here in Colorado, whether it be an apartment or a condo or something like that.
And that reflects the market is starting to cool. And I'm guessing that $2,200 is with both apartments, but also home rentals, full blown. So that does sound about right if you're looking at something that has 3 bedroom compared to 1 bedroom, that average.
So, the $2,200 for some people, that's not a lot of money. For other people, it is a lot of money, especially in these tough economic times. So here's an article from Fox 31 showing that nearly half of Colorado renters are cost burdened. So this article is from November 16th, 2022. So about a year ago, we've been seeing this trend. As you've seen, it's cooled off slightly, but nonetheless, half of people who are renting in Colorado, which represents nearly over two-thirds, or over a third, excuse me, over a third of the population are renters, and nearly half of those people are being cost burdened by these all the costs that they have to pay, whether they're renting or paying their grocery bill, right?
Mhm.
So that was from last year. Looking now from September 28th, 2023, from Axios.com, just a recent article, Denver evictions are on track to hit a record high. So it's very unfortunate. We've seen these cost burdened renters now struggling to pay their bills. And of course, that means that they might get evicted. So kind of sad story for a lot of people out there. So why is Proposition HH such a bad deal for renters? What's the big challenge? Well, we've seen people are struggling to pay their rent. Rent seems to be increasing. We can expect rent to get higher with more people moving here. But what they don't tell you really on Proposition HH, if you read just the Blue Book, is that it's going to cost each taxpayer about $5,000 in Tabor refunds over a decade. So you're going to lose $5,000 that you could spend to pay for your rent, to pay for your grocery bill, your gas bill, all of that. But if Proposition HH passes, you're going to lose that money and your rent's still going to go up. So digging deeper into that article, let's read this little section from it. So this study that they reference found any property tax reduction would be outweighed by long-term state tax increases. Should Proposition HH pass, the increase in property taxes will be slightly less, but taxpayers will lose $5,119 in Tabor refunds over the next 10 years. Renters will be the biggest losers, the study says. They won't see any benefit from Tabor refunds. It's your tax refund that would be redirected to property owners and intended to slow the increase in property taxes. If Proposition HH is approved by voters, property taxes will still go up, and that increase is likely to be passed along to renters, doubling the negative effect of the measure on renters. So, of course, if Proposition HH passes, you lose your tax refund, your rent's still going to increase. It's putting you in a bad position if you're a renter here.
And I think it's important just focusing once more on what that, because most people don't understand the refunds. Renters losing their income tax refunds, and it's being shifted over to alleged about meaningless property tax relief. So go ahead, I'll let you keep going. I just want to emphasize those renters, when they see the title Tabor refunds, property tax, think it may not impact them, but it's their refunds being stolen.
Definitely. No, that's a huge point. Here's an article from just today, October 2nd, where we're recording this, from the Fort Morgan Times. Even if Proposition HH passes, property taxes are still going up. So, as you said, property taxes are going to increase. There's more people moving here who want to move to rent here. So, we can expect rents to increase in price a little bit, at least because of those two things. And then people lose their tax refund, their income tax refund, which is going to make it harder for them to afford these rising costs. So the reality is, if there's an increase in property taxes, your rent's going to most likely increase. Most renters or most rental companies or property owners or rental managers, they can't just absorb a big increase in their property taxes without passing it along to the renter. It's going to be hard for them to do that. So here's the reality. Here's what you need to know if you rent in Colorado. If Proposition HH passes, property taxes will still increase. Not only that, but every Coloradan will lose their tax refund. So you're losing your income tax refund and property taxes increase. It's a double whammy. If you rent in Colorado, expect your rent to increase with or without Proposition HH. But if you want to keep your tax refund, you need to vote no on Proposition HH. It's really all it comes down to. If you rent in Colorado, you should really hope that Proposition HH fails in November. If you rent in Colorado, encourage anybody else in your community, in your apartment, in your rental area, vote no on Proposition HH. Keep your tax refund money in your pocket and, use that to help you pay for these raising costs.
Yeah, agree. And if people have questions they want to send their neighbors to a website that'll give them more information about this, they can go to rejecthh.com. There's a printable flyer. If you live in an apartment complex, do your neighbors a favor, print out 20 of them, those flyers, put them on their doors, because we're all affected by this. And with the shenanigans, the misleading ballot question, which doesn't give renters any idea to the impact based upon this question, there's a lot more voter education that needs to occur. And that really does mean knocking on your neighbor's door and just saying, hey, have you heard about this? Heard about this, read about it, watch this video, um, and make sure we defeat HH, because it's also giving up consent forever. So making a rash decision right now will affect things forever. And this is obviously a horrible idea, especially with the long list of people who are opposing it. But it's still going to take voter education.
Definitely get the word out there. Share the videos. Go to rejecthh.com. Look for the information and check out our future videos, which will go into more details about just how bad Proposition HH is.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Natalie. I really appreciate you joining me for this, and let's hope the word gets out.
Oh, wonderful. Sounds good. Thank you.